Welcome to the Experience Miracles podcast, where we help parents find hope, answers, and drug-free help to overcome your child's chronic health challenges. I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be sharing my experiences as both a dad and a doctor on every episode. I can take the latest science and neurology of healing and break it down in the most simple and relatable way possible. We'll take on the toughest topics and answer your biggest questions through interviews with other amazing parents and leading experts, leaving you with practical action steps that you can take to help your child heal and thrive. It's time to expect and experience miracles. Let's get started. Hi parents, everybody listening, are you ready for a good laugh? You know, when I first started to build out the structure and the game plan, really the format, if you will, as to how we would do each and every episode of the Experience Miracles podcast, I knew that I was going to do the majority of the time exactly what God called me to do, what I love to do, what I love to talk about and bring out to the world. And that is just this deep dive neuroscience in what it takes to keep our kids healthy, to raise healthy kids naturally, neurologically. So I knew there'd be all sorts of content about neuroscience and all of that sort of stuff. Okay, so the science stuff. I also promised to each of you right out of the gates with this podcast and with every episode that I would speak from real life, not just doctor experience, but dad experience, parent experience. And so God just wanted to make sure that I continue with that part of this plan and I'm able to fully lean into it, because today we're going to talk all about how to rebuild, restore, replenish the immune system and how to really tackle things naturally without medications, not over the counter, not prescription, hopefully, when our kids are sick. And in a bigger kind of foundational overlay of this, we're going to talk about the neuroimmune system and how to raise healthy, resilient, immune system strong kids naturally. And you may be going, where's he going with this? Well, right now, before coming into my little home studio here I have for the podcast, I was just checking on my beautiful 12-year-old daughter, Miss Elena, who is doing the first R and actually the second R. She's replenishing as well. And we'll talk about the third R with recharging. That already was just done because she's laying on the couch recovering from an illness because just about 24 hours ago, so towards the middle of the school day yesterday, we got a call that says, hey, your daughter's puking in the garbage basket. Want to come pick her up? Yeah, probably should pick her up for this one versus having her power through and stay in there. And so we're in the thick of it, right? So you're going to be diving into this. If you catch it fresh off the press, you know, when it's first released, you'll be diving into this one as we get towards the end of winter for most of us, beginning of spring. And I know that this podcast reaches internationally, so you Australians are like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. But the truth is, this is a conversation not just for the winter months. It's for when our kids are sick. I'm going to really take two kind of big runs at this that are really the same thing. How are healthy immune systems built is really going to be our first chapter of this podcast. And then how do you rebuild them? How do you get them restored and really recharged and rewired when they get off track and our kids get sick or when you get sick? So this is going to be a playbook for just proactive prevention. This is how healthy, resilient kids and immune systems are built naturally. And then when you know that, when you know the foundations, then we'll get into some, well, here's what we do. And I'll get all the way down to, we'll have a little chatterooski here about elderberry and echinacea and what are called boost adjustments and different things that we do when our kids are sick. We literally have an entire cabinet full of natural health, immune system builders and boosters. We don't have any medications of any kind in our house, but we do have all sorts of natural health, reboot, recharge weapons as well. So I'll get into those details before we get done as well. And literally, bullet point by bullet point, teach you what we do when our kids are sick. But let's first take a proactive approach and say, what can we do all the time, on the daily, on the weekly, on the regular, to prevent proactively? Again, if you've listened to the podcast, I've probably addressed this a little bit. Not a big fan of the word prevention. So medicine has really taken the word prevention and kind of sold us, words that rhyme with it, like vaccination and other sort of, testing. So medicine is they really have, diluted the heck out of the word prevention, okay? So we have really consciously, strategically chosen the word to proactive instead of prevention. The way we look to raise our kids and build strong, high character, and then when when we talk about health, healthy, where their nervous system, their immune system, their digestive systems. Today's conversation really about the nervous system and the immune system and how they crosstalk and are in charge of keeping each other strong. When we look to build resilient, healthy kids naturally, how do we do that proactively? How do we do that consistently? Well, first off, it's our goals. So this isn't a mindset podcast, but I want you to just kind of go all the way back to the foundation with me for a second and say, where are, maybe using the wrong little word there, where are our strongest values? What matters most to us with our kids and with their well-being? Well, of course, we want our kids, to perform well at school if that's how they're wired and they're dialed in that sort of space and getting good grades. Or maybe your family who really, really loves athletics, and it's absolutely a great place to build character and learn about competition. So we want our kids to perform well in sports. We want them to be socially, emotionally healthy, but we can also kind of just start with the basics, right? And be like, dang, we really want healthy kids. Like, we don't want our kids to be sick. We don't want them to struggle with colds and allergies and congestion and RSV and croup and bronchitis and pneumonia and influenza and asthma and allergies and food intolerances and autoimmune conditions like pandas and pans and limes, right? So kind of notice what I did there with Little Run. We started with where most chronic illness starts with regular stuff, ear infections, sinus infections, respiratory infections, RSV, croup. Oh, those are just normal, right? Kids will just grow out of those things. It's totally normal to get ear infections. It's totally normal to have allergies. No, that's the pediatrician's take on things, and they're awful. The conventional medical system in pediatrician is just flat out awful at teaching us how to raise healthy, resilient, strong immune system kids. And so what we really got to look at is, okay, what can we do proactively to get our kids' immune systems as strong as possible? But what I want to set up with this conversation is perhaps what matters most in long-term, big picture, long game building of healthy, strong immune systems proactively is how do we handle sickness reactively? Because here's what we know about antibiotics, about inhalers and corticosteroids, and even over-the-counter medications like your Mucinex, your Allegra, your Singula. I actually don't even know if I'm talking about friggin' over-the-counter or prescription medications, but any medication that is going to be, let's call it in the respiratory, immune system, infection, illness category. So they're usually antibiotics and steroid-based medications are the ones. So those are anti-inflammatory, kind of immune system suppression medications. Those classes of medications, even if just used for 5 to 10 days in the middle of an acute illness, are absolutely clinically, scientifically proven to significantly weaken, suppress, disrupt, and distort immune system development all the way down the road for life. They wreak havoc on the gut and the immune system. They get into the nervous system and they manipulate and dysregulate the nervous system. And so there will be times, right? Thankfully for our kiddos, because of everything I'm going to teach you on this podcast, there's been very few times where we've had to turn to any sort of medical intervention, whatsoever for our kiddos. And I can tell you, one of the reasons that it's so much easier, I'm going to use that word relatively here, hang with me, why it's so much easier for us to hold the line when our kiddos, like right now, I've got a beautiful baby girl, fever, body aches, feeling like crap, just absolutely going through a battle. Whatever her nervous system and immune system picked up, it's a doozy. She's working through it. She's not comfortable. The reason it's easy for us as parents to not just go to Tylenol, ibuprofen, antibiotics, go to Walgreens, go to CVS, go to the urgent care, go to the pediatrician and get a medication and get it into her system is because we know that the potential, and that's all they are, and the odds aren't actually even that good, the results of those medications are, kind of like the Chicago Bears in football. They're out there. They play every year, but the results are pretty expectedly abysmal every single year. And if you look at the research around antibiotics for respiratory infections, they're awful in terms of getting results because most of respiratory infections are viral. If you look at the research around over-the-counter decongestants, do you know that right now with our freaking man RFK Jr. in there, ready to maha this whole thing with the HHS, I don't even think that they will even be legal to put a lot of these over-the-counter decongestant, respiratory, immune system suppressing, disrupting, destroying medications on the shelves anymore. Like, we're fine. They're not only ineffective with their active ingredients, they're full of chemicals, right? I could go on and on. I could do a whole podcast about the negative side effects of this whole class or classes of medications. So here's why it's easier for us as parents who have the information that I'm going to teach on this podcast. We're going to get into the science, but we're kind of starting with philosophy and perspective and foundation before we get into science and neuroimmunology and cytokines and everything else. So we look at that and we go, okay, number one, we're going to get little to no benefit, okay? So the risk reward. So the reward is barely there, but the risk is significant. We would shortchange fever, and fever has a purpose. Fever activates the rest of the immune system. Fever is like the bat signal to the rest of the immune system to get online, get after it, and get the bad guys out, okay? So we don't want to shortchange fever if we don't have to. And all sorts of other things come from the expression of illness. The cough is needed. It's got to get crap out, literally and mechanically. Why would we suppress it? The mucus, the congestion, traps those pathogens, traps bacteria, the viruses, and then gets them out as well. Blowing the nose, hacking a loogie. That's a farmer term for when you and then it's out. Yeah, and I just made that noise on a podcast. You had to listen to it, right? So this is the way the body is built and designed. So the symptoms of sickness are to be celebrated, not suppressed. And they are to be activated, encouraged, made to be as effective and natural and needed as could be, not short-circuited, suppressed, and shut down with medications. So the benefit from medications, not very good. The side effects, short and long term, making our kids maybe a little more comfortable for a little bit, but then more suppressed, more dysregulated with their nervous system, their immune system, and their digestive system because of the medications long term. Well, that's the truth. So I wanted to start there for the first 5 to 10 minutes as to say, okay, the way we've got to approach this is, and it's hard. That's why I want to spend 10 minutes on it, because when our kids are sick, our hearts are a mess, okay? I was just over there giving her big hugs, big kisses. It's my baby girl. I just want to take it away from her, right? I'd much rather be the one that's sick than her. And thankfully, because I'm a pediatric chiropractor who knows that the germ theory is not true, but the hygiene hypothesis and everything I'm about to teach you is, I haven't been sick since like 1988, and just have an immune system like a freaking, supercharged lion, because I'm exposed to germs all the time, because my nervous system is fully regulated, my immune system is constantly supported, and I stay away from medications and never get in its way. So anyways, I want you to know that this perspective is going to be challenged big time. You can be one of us, natural health minded, proactive. You know how this stuff works. You know that medications can get in and really screw things up. But when your kid's sick and they've got that fever and they've got that cough and they've got that congestion and body aches and they're miserable, it can be hard to not take a little bit of a shortcut or a cheat code. And especially when the whole sales machine of the medical world, and the pediatrician is their number one salesman and saleswoman in this world, wants to get that stuff to you, you got to really stay strong with this foundational approach. And again, obviously, I feel like I don't really need to say this, but the asterisk in here is, guys, that's what's a blessing about being both a trained doctor and a dad is, of course we know when the line is crossed. Of course we know when our kiddos are really, there will be infections that are real nasty. There will be immune challenges that are real serious, and that line can be crossed. And that's why you want a pediatric chiropractor, a natural health provider. You want a drugs last provider to be on your team, meaning sometimes they will be the ones who can help you really decipher, okay, we've crossed that line. That wire has been tripped. We need some medical intervention. But trust me, Where that line is in the neuroimmunological metaphoric sand here for this conversation, it's way further down the road than where most parents are taught and told and just passed down for generations. Oh, get them the medication, get them Tylenol, get them an antibiotic, get them a corticosteroid, get them an inhaler, get them the Mucinex, get them all this stuff. We take a different approach. When that line is crossed and they're sick and they're challenged, we say, okay, let's support, let's build up that immune system and get it as strong as can be. So this conventional medical approach of suppressing symptoms versus our natural neurological approach of building resilience, building strength, and building strong immune systems is really a foundational perspective. And having this perspective one way or another then sets up your decision making, which sets up your action in a certain direction or not. Okay, one more kind of foundational chapter or things to walk through here. There's 4, and every time I go through these 4, I'm like, oh, I could easily make an argument for this thing over here being the 5th and that there being the 6th. It's hard to ever pick a list, when you're like, these 3 things, these 4 things, these 5 things. It's hard, but you don't want to be like, okay, saddle up for this podcast. I've got 78 things, that are going to build your kids' immune systems up strong. There's 4 foundations: sleep, movement, eating clean, nutrition, eating clean, healthy, whole foods, and then a healthy, regulated, balanced nervous system. Now, pretty much anybody and everybody, even if they are only 10% naturally minded, we know that sleep is essential to good health. We know that being physically active is essential to good health. And we know that throwing down McDonald's Rockstar energy drinks, flaming hot Cheetos mixed with Cheez-Its is going to cause congestion and illness. And if we were to eat healthy, clean protein, veggies, fruit, good water, then that would be the path to good health. Those 3 things, those 3 pillars of health, everybody and their mother, and your mother hopefully did talk about this with you, okay? But number 4, that's that hidden in plain sight sucker. The nervous system, stress. Guys, the reason we have so much autoimmune and just immune system suppression and dysregulation in this world is, heck yes, the overuse of antibiotics and medications. Like, that's up there. That is one of the leading causes of chronic illness in kids and families. But the chronicity, the totality of stress stuck on our nervous systems, all of us, not just us, but our kids as well, we're the most stressed out, dysregulated population. And the first system that stress steals from within the body is the digestive system. About, depending on how you read it and look at it, 60, 70, 80% of our immune system is really within and very intricately connected to our digestive system. So when the nervous system is stressed and it really immediately dysregulates and throws off track the digestive system, right in lock and step with that is immune system dysregulation, inflammation, and immune system suppression. So we want to constantly be looking at these 4 pillars of sleep, of activity, so fitness, getting our kids constantly, consistently outside, off screens, moving. Then clean, nutritious water, foods, those sort of things. And then neurologically focused chiropractic care on the regular. Those are the 4 pillars. And I want you to take a proactive building health daily, building health weekly. The original tagline of our practice, and sometimes when I look at it, I'm like, that should still be it, is building health from within. And the conversation from that tagline goes, hey, this is an everyday job. This is an every week job. This is an every year job. Like, for our kiddos to proactively be healthy, foundationally be healthy, these 4 pillars, we're never going to be perfect, okay? You're going to have late nights. You're going to have kiddos who have a rough night sleeping. You're going to go out to eat or go to a birthday party and nutrition's going to be off. It's going to be negative. There's going to be polar freaking vortexes, but hopefully you even have a little gym or something inside. We do, and we have our kids come over here, walk on the treadmill, do these sort of things. We stay active even in the winter, or bundle up, get out there. But there will be things that plenty of days you're not going to crush it. You're not going to go 4 for 4. Even if you're an incredible weekly wellness, proactive prevention, wellness care sort of family with chiropractic, you're going to have a busy week with sports and finals and vacation. You might miss an adjustment here or there. I want you to know that the 4 pillars work so dang well that you can really deploy them in that 80, 20, 90, 10 way, okay? Our family certainly does. I feel like, and I'm just going to sneak this in, then I want to get into the neuroscience of the neuroimmune connection, but one of the things that really, when you do those 4 things, it basically adds up to what if I were to put a 5th in there, it would be mental emotional health. So it would be faith and relationship for us and our family. Our mental emotional health starts with our faith and our relation to Jesus and just all that he did for us and all that he pulls us through. And then just mental emotional health, right? But mental emotional health, that is a brain-based function really tied to physiological health, neurological health, meaning if you're sleeping well, if you're active, if you're eating clean, nutritious food and you're getting adjusted on the regular, your mental emotional health is pretty lock in step going to be good, right? And so in those cases, I do feel like for some families, if you're striving for 100% across all of those pillars and everything has to be perfect all the time, that might actually turn the corner a little bit and be a detriment to family's health when you're trying to live perfect because you stress about it so much. So I want you to strive for it. I want you to be absolutely that nature's medicine cabinet loving, raising healthy kids. Naturally, like these terms you hear, you're like, yeah, that's me. This is my tribe. This is my podcast. And I want you to do so well with it that if you go on vacation and have a couple of meals off, or you go out once a week as a family and you go have a little fun or whatever it is, you just slip up a little bit, that your kiddos' nervous systems and immune systems are so strong that they go, I got this, no problem. All right. So now let's talk about what we do when our kids get sick. Okay. First, I always kind of take a quick look back. I'm always taking notes, if you will. So my first thing right now with Miss Elena being sick, it's like, okay, where have we gotten? So my conversation I literally just had, I'm going to go back and go, did we fall down to 60, 70%? Now, there's an interesting scenario at play with my Miss Elena being sick today. This past 3 to 4 days, we were in Boston with my wife and our 2 older kiddos because we are crazily at that stage where we are doing college visits. So we took the 2 older kiddos, junior, and brought the freshman along, just kind of get an early start on that. And to have a little kind of getaway, do the college visits, and it was a great time. It was incredible, right? Great experience. Part of my heart hurts and then is so excited for her and them to take on that next stage and crush it. Anyways, that means the little 2 stayed home with, anybody guessing it as you're listening? Grandpa and Grandma. So my amazing family is crushed. So anyways, do things map out differently with food, nutrition, sleep schedules, how much time they get to play Nintendo Switch or watch TV when they are at Grandpa and Grandma's house versus the natural, neurologically focused chiropractic parents that these kids have so fortunately been granted by the Lord. Okay? Yes, that's true. So a couple of days at Grandpa and Grandma's house, even for healthy, resilient kids, might be enough to just lower the bar of resistance within their immune system so that when yesterday came around, bam, here we are. So what does that mean? It means it happened. That's what it means. That's my take on this. It means this is life. You're literally never going to bat 1,000 and be 100% perfect. Your kids are going to get sick, and it's how we respond. And it's if we can take a proactive, reactive approach, and I promise I'll make sense of that by the time we're done, then she can actually come out of this stronger, more resilient, more healthy on the other side. So here's what we do when our kids get sick. When I get to the very end, I'm just going to do a rapid fire of like how we approach ear infections, fever, congestion, sore throat. We're going to actually get a little granular and a little almost like, I want you to think of it like, and I know it's a podcast, so you can only have it auditorily, but it's like when you have a first grader and there's like a picture of a cat and a dog and a banana, and the pictures are there, and then on the right side of the paper, it says the 3 words, and they're supposed to draw the arrows. I'm going to do that for you. I'm going to say, okay, ear infections, we do this, fever, we do this, but here's what we do for everything when our kids are sick. We do the 3 R's, okay? Number 1, rest. So yes, we do not send our kids to school. And so does it disrupt our schedule? And do we have to change some things up? Yeah, that's it, And so we got to prioritize rest. Now, I want you to talk about rest, okay? Or I want to kind of get a little more, because it's me and it's the Experience Miracles podcast. I want to get a little bit, or maybe a lot of bit more granular with rest. In today's world, and trust me, this is exactly what your kids are going to think is rest. And hey, use this for yourself as well. You may think, awesome, I'm sorry, I make this joke all the time because I'm a hard charger, never get sick, and I love what I do, but I love it so much. Sometimes I go a little too hard and I try and bump right up to the rails, and I might try and run myself off the road a little bit because I'm just so in love and so passionate and so called to what I do. And so sometimes I'll be a little worn out and I'll make the bad joke with my team and go, man, if I could just get sick for 24 hours, I could probably just have an excuse to lay in bed and watch SportsCenter on repeat and just do all the, I heard there's this thing called Netflix and all this sort of stuff. And truth is, that's not rest, okay? When your kiddos are sick or you are sick, rest means sleep. Rest means grab a book. Rest means totally, completely chill. What your kids are going to do is I'm home from school because I don't feel good. Can I watch YouTube? Can I play Switch? And my kids, speaking of the word proactive, they should just proactively answer that question for themselves because it's a 2-letter word coming up right quick, all right? Nah, just kidding. Nah is N-A-H, but no way, nope. No. Okay? There's the 2-letter iteration of that. And so right now, it's a lot of books. And again, we're trying to prioritize rest. We're trying to help them do that. So we'll spend some time if they're up to it. We'll play a little game. Last night, when it was first kicking in, we played a little Scrabble and did that. So rest means physical and rest means neurological. I think it's really important to not just have yourself or have your kids plugged in digitally. Now, is it the worst thing to throw on Moana? Is it the worst thing to have a little movie and chill? But if your kiddo is home all day sick and it's 8 hours, 10, I would say 2 hours, or more for sure, of TV and digital connection, what electronics do is whether iPad, laptop, TV, doesn't matter. Electronics are all at an electrical frequency that stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, okay? So rest has to really, really, truly be rest. And you want to be unplugged, and hopefully the immune system is working so hard that it tires the body out so much that they're sleeping for the majority of the time. But I just wanted to make that point within a point. True rest, unplug from screens, disconnection, get away from all that. That's crucial for healing. Number 2 on our 3R pathway to recovery from an illness is what we like to say, the science of replenishment, okay? So when the immune system and the nervous system, and a lot of times, depending upon the type of illness, it may recruit the digestive system, the old hurl from the north end, or removal of toxins from the south end. Leave you to imagine and assume what I'm talking about with that. So it will deplete the body of crucial nutrients, resources, minerals, electrolytes, amino acids, protein, macronutrients. So beef it up. Okay, this is a time where you really want to prioritize. So, we're actually, when I'm recording this is during and it's going to come out when eggs are through there. So thankfully, we live on a farm. We have our own chickens. So this morning it was some, eggs and some homemade sourdough. One of our docs at the office makes her own sourdough, and it's just the best nutrients and the best food. So a little bit of eggs and a little bit of sourdough, and then some water with electrolytes into it. Some water with some element into it to replenish those electrolytes. Not a lot of food, not a lot of water going into this kiddo today. Again, I'm just going to run this one out. You know what? God wanted me to give a podcast episode to you that didn't just have my notes, but it had a real life story happening as of this recording, kind of traipsing its way, walking along the path with us. So clean protein, healthy fats, macronutrients, a little bit of strawberries, a little bit of raspberries, a little bit of blueberries, those are in there. You can put them in a smoothie if your kiddo wants to have them that way. And then the other component of replenishment is really the vitamins, supplements, and natural boosters like bone broth, elderberry syrup, raw local honey. So we're not a big bone broth family, but we are a big elderberry and local honey. We have real easy access to that. Neither my wife and I really love, or anybody in the family loves to do the whole deep dive stuff with bone broth and all that. And so we will typically go more towards adjustments, supplements, essential oils, those, again, some of the natural chest rubs if it's like a cough or a congestion thing. And then we do have access through our local health food store and some of our patients even to elderberry syrup and raw local honey. So the other thing, I talked about how I would kind of connect some dots when it comes to natural remedies that we deploy when kids get sick. And with this episode, if you really want our entire playbook, we have a 12 page PDF called Raising Healthy Kids Naturally. And then we have another PDF, which is really its close cousin, called Nature's Medicine Cabinet, which is this just real simple handout that really lines up the ducks and says, hey, here's the supplements we love, here's the vitamins we love, here's the essential oils, here's sometimes there's even brand recommendations in there. And so with this one, if there's ever a podcast episode to go to the show notes and take a look at, it's this one, because you're going to want to go to our website and download those guides, the Raising Healthy Kids Naturally guide or the Nature's Medicine Cabinet. So that is really straightforward from A to Z, depicting everything we're talking about here in really written form. And then also the Nature's Medicine Cabinet, that's our handout. That's our cheat code, if you will, and playbook that says, okay, when our kids are sick, here's what we're deploying. There's a little bit of granularity in there where for ear infections, chiropractic care, essential oils, specifically there's an oil that has garlic and mullein oil in there, which goes into the ear, not only soothes it, but also really does a great job of an antimicrobial effect. When it comes to fever, that is all about hydration, rest, homeopathic, apple cider vinegar socks, those sort of things. Congestion and cough, that's where we're gonna get into the elderberry and the raw honey, but we're really gonna crank the humidifier with the essential oils, and we're really gonna make sure, okay, have we cleaned our filters? Is the middle of winter here in the Midwest, we're in a farmhouse, it gets so dry, right? So we gotta really, really work on that. Sore throat, again, coming back to things like manuka honey and colloidal silver, grape seed extract. And then if we really wanna, if the immune system, we can just tell our kids' immune systems, are not just congested, but maybe really, really downtrodden, we're gonna support it. Again, all along the way here, we're doing neurologically focused adjustments, but you can throw at it oil of oregano, garlic, elderberry, and then there's a couple of supplements. Now, I'm going to do what I'm probably not supposed to do, but I just love it. And it works. They work so well for our families. The two supplement brands that we are obsessed with, and I have and never will, it's just not what we're going to do. God put us here to be all about chiropractic. That's it. You're never going to have, this like, oh, go to our bio and save 10%. Like that's not this platform. And I'm not against others doing it. In fact, it's great to know about this stuff, have trusted people we trust, have trusted brands. If you get a discount, awesome, right? I know a lot of people in my space, that is their business. I just want you to know, before I say my two favorite brands, I got no connection to them. None whatsoever. This is what we use for our family. And because it's the absolute best, I think, for my kiddos, it's what's on the shelves or what we tell people to go online and order from the practice as well. So that's where this trust verification is coming from, nothing else. I love orthomolecular for our kiddos and for our immune systems. I know orthomolecular is just a top dog when it comes to immune system boosting supplements. And there's kind of a whole series of them. You can go to their website, and they can do a better educational part of it than I can here. Because again, it's not my specialty. The nervous system is, not necessarily supplementations and functional medicine. And so orthomolecular, for sure, favorite. And it's on our shelves all the time, on the ready. Elena's taking it today. Like, those are our immune system boosting supplements from that world. And then for us as adults, I actually wish they had a little more. And I know Dr. Josh and know Jordan and the crew pretty well. And it's Ancient Nutrition. So I wish they had more pediatric products. I always give them a hard time about that. But they have a different mission and a different vision. But I really love Ancient Nutrition products as well. So if we're looking for supplements to boost the system, when we go to replenish and restore these things within the body that are maybe wiped out from illness, that is where we go. Now, the third and final R on our 3 R's to recovery is the recharge neurological connection. Okay. So you've heard me mention, and it probably doesn't surprise you because you know that I'm a pediatric chiropractor, that all along the way, the hidden cheat code to recovery, actually, let me back up. The hidden cheat code to having our kids and ourselves get sick way less often is consistent, regular wellness, proactive chiropractic care. So that's the foundation. When our kids are sick, extra boost adjustments are the remedy that we turn to first. Now, I am going to do, because there's been a lot of requests for a deep dive conversation about neuroinflammation as it relates to not just kids who are sick with autoimmune conditions, but also pandas, PANS, Lyme's, autism is a lot. So I am about to do a whole nother deep dive podcast episode. You can almost kind of consider this one right here, kind of like the 101 level of the neuroimmune connection episode. And then I'm going to do a real PhD level. I'm going to introduce these things here. And then right on the heels of this one, I'm going to do a whole podcast episode about neuroinflammation and what's called the NEI super system, neuroendocrine immune super system. And it's me. So I promise we'll make it entertaining, we'll make it simple, but there is another episode coming where we're going to get into interleukin 6 and cytokines and TNF alpha and all sorts of other stuff. So I want to get into it here to set the table for that one. Okay. When you or your child get adjusted, especially when sick, when congested, when fever, when lethargic, when the body is just full of not feeling good, the first thing an adjustment does is it increases lymphatic and sinus, ears, nose, throat drainage. So poor plumbing equals congestion. When things can't move through the system, because subluxation, which is what we adjust, subluxation has fixation to it. So things don't move as well. That will jam up and clog up the ears, the sinuses, the throat, the lungs, the lymphatics. If those things are mechanically, think of it literally like the HVAC or the plumbing system in your house. If something obstructs it, which is exactly what subluxation does mechanically, now the bad guys can't get pushed through and removed from the house, and mold can build up, and pathogens can build up, and microbes can build up. So opportunistic infections set up shop when there is poor plumbing and poor drainage. So the first thing an adjustment does is it just helps the body move crud along. People report all the time, immediately, literally immediately after getting adjusted, their sinus is clear, their lungs clear, the swollen lymph nodes from their neck. When you have a neck problem, you got lymph node problems, right? And so those things will go down and get out of there. The second thing that comes with adjustments is we can actually regulate what's called cytokine production. So cytokines, there's a lot of these little pro-inflammatory markers in cytokines in the body, like interleukin 6 and TNF. These have been shown to go down after adjustments, which is the same thing as saying when the nervous system is stressed and sympathetic dominant, they go up. So when we clear that stress off the body, you can actually, and it's been clinically proven, there is a lowering of these anti-inflammatory cytokine production channels. And so the body finally starts to shut off what is sometimes this stuck perpetual systemic inflammation cycle, which is always at play for acute illness. But it's also a really, really big deal for chronic autoimmune challenges. Cytokines are a big deal. So is the HPA axis, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis. By regulating autonomic nervous system balance, which is, again, the word regulation, we really can get that HPA axis to chill out, slow down, and not be stuck on overdrive as well. And so when you can reduce that sympathetic dominance, that adrenal cortisol exchange, and you can get the body less stressed out, less cortisol, less inflammation, okay? So that really helps someone get over an illness faster. The other thing that we tap into are natural killer and T cells. Now these, we kind of talked about a little bit ago with cytokines, they might be considered, just for this conversation, by the way, everything is needed. God is brilliant in his design, so it's all working in harmony, but we also want it to work at its best. And chiropractic is all about that, getting it working optimally. We're not going to step in and do the job for the body and make it weaker just for getting it better. We're going to step in and support the body so it works better. So if the guys before, the cytokines were the bad guys, these are the good guys. So the natural killer cells and the T cells are essential immune components that get in there and beat up the bad guys, get them out of there. So we have known that chiropractic adjustments done in this neurological way actually boost the activity and the efficiency of this neuroendocrine inflammatory immune system cycle, including supporting the productivity of natural killer cells and T cells. And then the final one to just introduce, and again, if you love this stuff, if you love these last 5 things I'm mentioning, get ready for that neuroinflammatory cascade and neuroinflammation episode, because I'm going to go way deeper on these 5 things and more. But the other one is the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is literally the direct communication channel to what's called the anti-inflammatory immune system regulation pathway. So when the vagus nerve is subluxated and suppressed, the body's immune system function is completely dysregulated, completely suppressed, and thrown off track. And so what our adjustments do is they boost that immune system function by activating the vagus nerve as well in a major way. All right, everybody, that is nerdy enough, that is deep enough, but also the first half of this, the real foundation of this, is meant to be basic. It's meant to be almost philosophical, foundational, because you start from that and then you get into Manuka honey and essential oils and neurologically focused boost adjustments and cytokines and T killer cells and everything else. So all of this is how we proactively, consistently make sure our kids are healthy, resilient, and have strong immune systems. But when they're sick, double down, triple down. So from this episode, you're going to want those handouts. You're going to want those PDFs. I'm talking old school. Pull them up on your phone, print them out, have them saved on your browser if you want it that way. Like that Nature's Medicine cabinet handout and the Raising Healthy Kids playbook are worth their weight in raw, local honey and not grass-fed, they don't eat grass, and organic eggs, okay? Pasture-free as a bird, get it? Because they're chickens' eggs, like are expensive right now. So if those are high value, wait till you get your hands on the guide and the PDF that our team put together for you. Go to the show notes. As always, thank you for listening. I love you. Share this one with a family who you know maybe is always battling immune stuff and their kids are sick all the time and they just need to make that shift towards natural health. This could be the episode, the pathway to do that. And as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Please leave a review if you're finding this always helpful for you and your family. And please share the heck out of this so we can continue to restore hope for millions and millions of parents and restore and transform the health of millions of kids' lives naturally, neurologically, without medications. So love this community. So love doing this content for you guys. God bless. Be well. See you on the next one.